Welcome to the Real Triathlon Podcast. I'm your host, Garrick Lowen, here with Nicholas Chase and Jackson Laundry. Welcome back to the Real Triathlon Podcast.
Ooh, new start. I like it.
Yes.
Triple welcome.
Triple welcome for the three hosts. So we are rotating hosts. Nick is out, and Jackson.
We got a funny story about why Nick's not here, actually.
Yeah, actually, I think we should tell that story.
Well, all right. I'm just gonna read from the WhatsApp chat. Oh no, he said it.
You know what?
Okay.
Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do.
We'll play the video.
Nick will tell us.
So it's been an interesting morning, and then started this testing protocol with this new strap with this like respiratory thing on the back. It was like a 50-minute test. Didn't start till 7:10. And midway through the test, or actually about the last quarter, I get a notification that my flight was boarding. Oh, so I fucked up my flights. Hard. Can you imagine that? It was supposed to leave 12:55 this morning, not tomorrow. So those red-eye flights me. Anyways, finished the threshold test. Kind of probably got a little harder, but anyways, was like, what the fuck am I going to do during that test? Called. So I jumped straight into the Zwift ride and was riding on there while I was talking to the Delta agent. Got me booked on the next flight tonight, 11 p.m. to Atlanta to Cozumel, getting tomorrow by 2:30, which was the goal anyways. So no big deal. Didn't cost me any money. First class the whole way. So yeah, then I just rode that Tour de Zwift for 55 minutes at 298 watts average to try to catch up to you all. So me turned some goddamn turds into some pieces of art this morning.
That was awesome. That was the most Nicholas Chase thing ever. Doesn't let the workout even get delayed or the quality suffer at all. Rebooks his flight and still crushes it. That was ridiculous. Anybody else would have been like, oh my gosh, I have to cancel my whole day. I need to figure this out.
I also have you ever been on a phone call when you're on like the trainer and trying to talk to someone that has nothing to do with triathlon or cycling, and you're like trying not to breathe hard, but you're like, yeah, I think that'll work.
And he's doing it at 300 watts too.
Yeah.
It's not like he was riding easy.
He did 300 watts for the hour, and then he did like 335 watts for 20 minutes of it.
Oh my God.
All the time while he's on the phone.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So. But yes, I do know what that's like. My Zwift, when someone calls me, because I have a separate like little Mac server to run my Zwift off of, it closes Zwift, not close it, but like minimizes Zwift when someone calls me, so it disappears, and that bugs the heck out of me. And I always forget to update the settings. And my dad calls me during the workday. If I'm like at home during the workday, my dad calls me like 3 or 4 times.
Oh.
So
you're working, aren't you?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Also, so I just got, or I had emailed Zwift and asked if I could get like a free account because that was done. So I was just like, I don't want to pay for indoor riding because I don't do it very often. And so I was doing the training. I was using the Training Peaks virtual platform, which is basically like a knockoff of Zwift. It's really not bad. And it's free until March for everybody. You just need like a basic Training Peaks account. And then it'll be free if you have premium, which most of us have like premium accounts. So it's kind of it's a pretty good deal if you don't get Zwift for free. That's what I've encouraged some of the athletes I coach to, try, because it's like it just puts the workout in there and it's just like Zwift.
How much is it once it comes out? How much is it going to be if you don't have premium?
I don't know, but it's like, isn't premium like $9 a month?
That much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like $9 a month.
So I wouldn't mind some good competitors coming out for Zwift to drop the price a bit.
Right. Because isn't it like $20 a month now?
Yeah, it's not just maybe 15 US or something, but
yeah. But yeah. Anyways, Zwift is still better, like with all the bells and whistles, and they have better graphics and stuff, but I don't know, most of us aren't doing training for the graphics. At least I don't. I think it's miserable either way.
I don't even look at Zwift that much. Like I use it because it like gamifies training a bit, so I use it. But I still am watching a YouTube video during my ride, and the Zwift, like I have two TVs up in front of me, and the first one in front of me is YouTube, and the one to the side is Zwift.
Oh.
Yeah,
There you go.
so it's fun.
Speaking of training on Zwift, we won't be doing that for a week because we're going to be
We will
in
not.
Mexico at
But-
training camp.
Yeah. So before we get into the topic of this podcast, we have a segment that we are calling "We're Undecided." It's clickbait takes, or it's gear grinding. So I have something that grinds my gears, and it kind of is related to Training Peaks, and that is coaches who charge a lot, like charging $200+ a month for coaching, and don't include Training Peaks Premium in that. This happens, and that grinds my gears.
That's
Would you like to
me.
call anyone out specifically? That's Lisa.
Are you calling me out, Garrick?
See, I didn't know that you did that, but you know what? I'm going to stand by it, Lisa.
You got to include that.
I
Training Peaks
would
Premium.
I do. What's like a normal price for coaching? Do you think? Because I mean,
What
I
would like
think
an average be? Like
I-
200
I feel like 250
US?
Yeah, I
250?
charge 200. I charge 200 US, and that includes like Training Peaks Premium.
Oh, wow.
But Lisa, it's like $9 a month. Just build it into the price.
Well, then should it be $259?
Yeah, make it that. Like, but you're like, I'm also not a full-time coach, right? So I think if you
Right.
have a full-time coach that's like fully dedicated to coaching, yeah, they can charge more. I know Nick charges $400 a month.
Yeah.
And I think especially like Lisa, you know, you come into a space where female coaches are underrepresented, and I feel like that's definitely a niche that that should be targeted a bit more, and that should come at a premium, especially a professional athlete who's
Yeah.
been around the block a few times.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, you should be charging more than the average price for a coach, I would say, which would make total sense to me.
I think I feel like 250 is fair for what I offer. Yeah. I don't know. I'm
Like
kind of
that's
that.
fully, yeah, that's fully custom coaching, right? A lot of these coaches
Yeah.
charge, a lot of the coaches that you see that charge like $100 a month, $150 a month, even some up to 200, like it's more group based training, and it's just like a ticket to come train with the group. And
Yeah. And they
I
give
think
everyone the same workouts for the
Mhm.
most part.
Yeah, I think well I pretty much contact, I'm usually like texting, like I think I'm at about 10 athletes right now, and I'm usually in somewhat form of texting communications with like about half of them every day.
Whoa.
That's good.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's
There's
a lot.
constant communication.
But it's not, yeah, it is a constant communication thing, and I comment on almost every Training Peaks thing that they do. So I feel like it's like pretty good. But also I do that because I think I get a lot out of it. Like it's a relationship that I want to be part of, and that's why I coach, because I don't want to just throw workouts and have people tick them off and like never hear from them. But that won't happen.
So wait, you're doing coaching. You're doing coaching and triathlon, and that's it right now, right? Or or do
Yeah.
you have another job? Okay, because you used to work at Red by Sir, and then you're like,
And then they said, "Zoop, she's
And
gone."
is that company still around?
They are. They've like, it's not just one product now. They have this other oat they like kind of merged two companies together under like a big parent company. And when they merged, I got laid off, and then another person on the other side got laid off. And then I think like a couple people quit a few months down the line. So
Well, you're better off because you obviously have been able to put more into triathlon, and you won a lot of money that one race this year. That was awesome. I mean, last year.
yeah. Yeah.
And as I only know this because of your very hey, what do you guys think about this trend? The everyone showing what they made in triathlon on the reels. I think it was pretty neat. I think people did different things. Like Cody, I think, did like all triathlon income, not just racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll tell you right now. I made $2,250 US last year in prize money.
That's
Oh
not
yeah,
bad. Like it's where did you win that
That
like
was
classic
Ironman.
or Ironman
No,
Canada, wasn't it?
Ironman Canada
at?
and
Yeah.
Barrelman,
Yeah.
Nice.
and I made three places I made money last year, but I can't remember the third.
Jackson, do you know how much money you made from just prize money last year?
Um, no, but I could crunch those numbers real quick. Let me
I
find it.
do. I think it's at least for me. I've always appreciated Cody Beals and how he talks about his finances in triathlon. I don't know how. I'm like, I need some of the sponsors you have. Um, but just because he's very open about like his finances from year to year, and I think that's super helpful for especially new pro triathletes. Um, but it is interesting to see what people are making, even if it's like prize money. I would love to know what some of like the top pros are making in total with like their all their sponsors and bonuses. Like I bet a few of them are upwards of over 1 million, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I
It's
think so.
cool and it's not when you consider that the base salary in the NHL is 875,000 a year.
True.
It's like it's so funny watching them talk about like 875. They're like, oh, this guy, he's only 875,000 a year. And like, could you imagine if you made that in 1 year, Lisa? Like that would be
That'd be
life
crazy.
changing.
I'd retire from everything. I
Yeah.
literally would feel like I'm set for life. I
Okay.
do remember one of my old coaches, Julie Dibbins. There was this race in I think somewhere in like the Middle East or something, and it offered like a $40,000 like prize purse for the win, and she won it. And she told me, she's like, when I won that race, I thought I was set for life, because like that's a huge deal. But then when you actually think about it, like
No, you're
I
not
mean,
set for life.
not set for
Well, if you
life.
live in Canada, the government takes about 80% of it, and then
Uh,
um okay, so I just quickly added up what I have on my expense sheet, and it looks like it was like just under 30,000 in prize money that I made US.
That's solid.
Pretty decent. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
I've
Yeah.
definitely
not
made
bad.
more in years from prize money, like um the year the Collins Cup happened, like that right there was like those 2 years were both like 20 and 22,000
Yeah.
just from the Collins Cup. So there was probably yeah, my best year was probably 2022 for prize money because I won Oceanside and then I did the Collins Cup and or 2021. Each of those years I probably made like more in the 30 to 50 range, um but now I've been more established and I get more from sponsors, so I'm doing all right. But this year, if I figured out if I just win every race I do, I'll make a lot more money. So that's what I'm gonna try and do.
There, there's your financial planning as a triathlete right there. I just win every race.
I feel like that's every pro triathlete when they're like 20 and they're just starting. They're like, man, I could totally just win every race at this at some point. And then they do it for like a year and they're like, this is hard.
So this is actually like a pretty good topic. I think a lot of people don't understand like not the actual number side. I know it's nice when guys publish their numbers like Cody and that, but um just how you have to plan your life financially as a triathlete where you're basically earning quarterly salary from your sponsors and then bonuses and prize money, which is just on top of that. And you might not be making a livable wage just in your salary from certain companies. I know Jack and I kind of had this discussion, and the difference is like when Jack was shopping for a car, he's like, well, I'm not going to get anything that is. I mean, Jack, you can speak to this, but I don't want any monthly payments because I don't have that steady income coming in every 2 weeks. It's better to just buy something safe, reliable in cash,
Yeah.
because financing it some months can be just a complete disaster.
Yeah. It's like how I plan my expenses are totally like try to pay for a lot of stuff when I have the money in the account and then like try to plan it so that I don't have as many expenses in the uncertain times. So as it turns out, it ends up being that I buy most of my stuff near the start of the year, like memberships and flights and all that. And because generally I've been, the last few years at least, I've done well in the previous year where like, okay, I saved up enough that I can just pay for a bunch of stuff and then hopefully invest some or whatever for life, and then pay for most of my stuff. And then I don't have a lot of expenses between like April and the end of the year as much, at least, or at least not all at once. So it's almost like I'm totally, every year when I go to like my first race, I'm so far in the negative for the year because I like spent like 10 grand just on all the first few races. And then I get there and I'm like, okay, well, I just look at it as that money's gone no matter what. So now everything I win is like kind of profit in a sense. But oh, by the way, I didn't include the Ironman bonus for the top 50. So I actually had like 34,000.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
Which
Your
also
girl.
Leslie got that bonus. Tamara got that bonus, I think. And they only did like 2 races. So I don't know what the heck I was doing because we got the same amount.
And your girl Lisa was 51st.
Oh
No.
no.
Get out of town. You were seriously?
So
Oh,
how'd
no.
you
20 like it's like 28 points. And Steve, my fiance, has been reminding me of that multiple times. Like 28 seconds.
Oh god, that's a
We
dagger.
could have a wedding and we were 28
That's an
seconds faster.
absolute dagger.
And I had like going into 7.3 Worlds, I had no idea that I would get close because it's just you can't like, calculate the points out because you don't know who's exactly racing and where they are, and someone way smarter maybe could, but yeah,
There's way too many moving parts.
too many moving
Yeah.
parts. But yeah, but yeah, like Tamara only did like 2 or 3 races, I want to say, but obviously did quite well at them. And I did 3 races. And so lesson learned for next year. Go
that's tough.
faster.
I
But
was
yeah,
gonna say you should have finished Chattanooga, but it wasn't a Pro Series race, so
no, I know. But yeah, it hurts after the fact. It really stung.
Yeah. Well, I think like there's a pretty good sort of argument for just doing like as many of the series races in America as you can, because if you're going to race in America anyways, like it just depends, because obviously the races are then more competitive, and then it's like, is it harder to get prize money? But yeah, I mean, obviously they're also changing it next year to where you don't get as much for 50th.
Yeah.
So that would have been an easier pill to swallow if you're only losing 2 grand instead of 5.
Right. I know.
But
oh, it still stresses me out.
but yeah, the whole, you know, obviously, like I think like to Lisa's point of like there's a few people making $1 million, I think it's pretty true. Like there's probably, I was guessing Kat Matthews probably made about $1 million. She made a ton in prize money because she crushed the Ironman series and the PTO series. Taylor Knibb, obviously. And then on the men's side, it just seems like there's a few guys like winning everything and they're getting a huge lion's share. And then, yeah, the drop off is precipitous after that. I would like kind of be an advocate. Like I've always kind of said this, but for balancing the prize purses out a little bit more where it's not as far of a drop off, mostly because the people who win are already getting so much money from endorsements anyways that, you know, they don't necessarily. But I mean, then when I win, I'm like, why the heck did they reduce it? So I only got that because the 50,000, the 50K races, like prize purse races, used to pay 10,000 to the winner, and I got that once when I won Raleigh, my very first race ever, Ironman 70.3 I ever won, and now it like balanced it out a little better. So I think that was a good change. But yeah, I mean, it's just nobody's making a living just off prize money, really. Like, and the ones who are making enough that they could be making a living off just prize money are making so much in sponsorships that I think it's always more than the prize money, pretty much. For a while, I was making more in prize money, like those years I mentioned, 2021, 2022. than I was from sponsors, but now it's shifted, which I'm grateful for, because it's nice to not be like, well, if I don't win any races this year, at least I know I can afford to live if I have like a mediocre year.
Yeah. I think that is well, I think it begs the question, and when the PTO they had their end of the year rankings paid out from like first to 50th or first to 100, and now they cut it back to first to 50th. And I don't think they're doing them anymore. Or I don't know if they are. But I think that like we started to question like how many people in professional triathlon should be able to make a living wage doing triathlon. And I don't know what the right answer is. Is it 50? Is it 40? Is it 70? Like I don't know what that answer is. And I was thinking about this when I was jogging today. The NFL, how many people do they have on their roster? Like
It's like 80-ish per
80
team,
on a roster. And how
something
many
like that, right,
Plus,
Garrick?
they have an active squad and a practice squad. And then I couldn't tell you. I mean, I could probably do hockey a little better,
Yeah. But like
but
so you have 80 people, and I think about like you have 80 of the best football players in the world, and they're all making like tons of money.
Per
And how
team.
many per team? So are there 32 teams or like 16? Something like that?
24.
It says 53
24?
on the active roster and more than a dozen on their practice roster. So I'd say 70.
Okay. So
70
70.
times like 30 teams or whatever.
Yeah, it's what,
No,
34? Is it
Ton.
34 teams? Is it 34? I don't know.
But so
Doesn't
you
really
have
matter. There's
so many people
yeah,
in like this
32
obvious
teams.
it's
in
30,
that
oh,
in the
so it's
sport of
just like hockey.
football. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
hockey, like so many people are making a living doing it. Like in
Yeah.
tennis, I think that people like to compare us to tennis. How many people in tennis make a living wage?
I think the reason
A
that
lot.
we get a lot more than in triathlon. I think the reason we get compared to like tennis and golf more is because it's like an independent sport, like it's not team based or anything like that. And it's like rankings, and you go to tournaments, and that's where you get your big payouts. The PGA golf tournaments, like the payout is crazy. If you don't make the cut, you're still going home with like 20K or something, like 30K. Like it's crazy. And I was
Yeah.
like, could you imagine I walk up to an Ironman race, finish 15th, and I go home with $30,000?
That'd be so cool. I do think though, like the number of people making a living on it should be going up. And it is. I do think it's going up. It's hard to know though, because there's no like published, and it's all private like sponsorships and stuff, right? So
Right.
but with the T100 and then the new Ironman series, like just in the last couple of years, the amount of money going in has really increased, and obviously most of it has gone to the top people. um but I think it's hard to know exactly, but I do still think that like the 20 to 60 range people are making more than they were a
Yeah.
few years ago, even like gauged to inflation. But I would like to see them kind of do a little bit more. Like Iron Man, still their whole series, like pretty much all of it goes to the top 10
Hmm.
um in the series. And then the T100's only like 18 people, or whatever it is, 20. And yeah, it would be good if the payouts were a little bit deeper. And I think Iron Man could afford to do it. Like they could afford to pay the series top 100, like pay 5 grand to the top 100, and make whatever, like 10 to the 20th to 50th, and 15 to for 10th to 20th or something. But we'll see. I mean, there's just more money coming into the sport in general, and we'll see how that sort of like plays out. But we are in a pretty fortunate time to be in the sport where there is these crazy series that like, and then yeah, like races like St. Anthony's or a couple others like don't have the, Alistair Brownlees of the world, in his prime, and the quite the people who were like literally like Olympic champions going to that race, because that was like the biggest prize money race back then, right? Like
Yeah.
it does open up a little bit of opportunities, I think, but you know, also you don't want to bite the hand that feeds too much, so we can't.
Yeah.
What
But
do you
like
think,
like
Eric?
Lisa said, it's like how many people should be making a living off of this? Like just because you have your pro card doesn't mean you should be making
Yeah,
enough
Right.
money, right? Like
for
I got
sure.
my I redid my pro card today, and all it required was an ECG.
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
it's not.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, to renew and stuff, but
Did it work for you? Because
um,
mine, like the drop, like the thing to check off that you read the agreement doesn't exist. Like I can't I can't agree to
oh,
the agreement.
well,
So I
maybe you
can't
don't have to.
Jackson's not pro next year. He's coming back to the
we'll
age
see. They're
group
like, we'll
ranks.
put you in touch with our
Yeah.
developer to see how they can fix the website. And I'm like, I need my freaking pro card. Like, I don't have time
Yeah.
to develop your website.
You
So I gotta.
they'll
Uh,
give you, if you email them, they'll give you like just the conditional one. Just if you're like I need it now and this is not working,
yeah.
they'll
Okay.
do it.
Well, I might do
But
that because I do want to get on the start list for South Africa as soon as possible because who knows if that thing will fill up.
yeah. But yeah, I think like it people like
I think
it's
a
like
hundred.
everything.
I think the top 100 making a living, like maybe the bottom part of that top 100, just making a living, wouldn't be unreasonable.
Yeah.
Top 100 on each side, or like top 50 women, 50 men?
I think top 100 on each side.
Yeah. I think that's an awesome goal to get to. I'm definitely not there yet.
Yeah.
No,
Like,
right now it's probably closer to 50.
50. Yeah.
I would say.
That's what I would guess. Yeah.
yeah. But it's also expensive to get places to race now. Like it's not like it used to be before. You
Yeah.
can't
No.
just like you used to be able to race enough Ironmans where you could, or Ironman 70.3s and the Rev 3 series and the Escape series, and you
That's
used to be
how
able to
I
drive to
that's how I
everything.
developed. That's how I developed in
Yeah.
the sport.
Yeah.
Like 2015, 16 were crucial years for me. I did mostly Olympic distance, non-drafting, which basically doesn't exist anymore, and the vast majority of my races I could drive to. And I made like not a lot of money, but I probably made like 15,000 in prize money, but my expenses were super low
Yeah.
because I was just driving to these things. And this was back when I was renting a room in a place for like $500 from my parents. And like you could live off, and groceries were half as much as they are now. Like I was, I still probably had like a net loss those years, but it wasn't like if I was doing that now, it's like, oh, you got to fly to all these races. Good job. You made your 15K and you spent 50. Like,
That's why I think like if you're a new pro, like, and you maybe just like eked into like the professional field, like you were an age grouper for a couple of years and now you're like taking it, and like you're gonna go to some of these races, you're gonna get absolutely smacked. And like I think that development is hard. And
Yeah.
because I think you will see a lot of people just like peace out and be like, all right, this isn't for me. We see that every single year. That could have easily been me my first couple years as a pro. Like I'd show up to these races and get absolutely like smacked around and be like, I need to go be an age grouper again because 5 age groupers beat me at this race. So I think it's hard. I think there does need to be a little bit more like focus on developing the future of the sport because we're gonna all get old one day.
There was also a time when like every race you showed up to, the if you were a pro, like the race director would probably give you a free entry, and then they had a small prize purse. Like the multi-sport series they had like in Canada or in Ontario, Southern Ontario really. Um, they had this series where the winner would get $1,000, and at every race when you would win, you get $300. So it would add. Jack won it the one year. He even got hit by a trailer and still won the race and won the series with
yeah,
a
I did. I
broken
think I did it
elbow.
2 years. That was the other part of those, 2014 to 16 years where I was doing like, I would do the local series, which was like, okay, I can win this series. Then I can, make a bit of money guaranteed. There's my guaranteed investment, $1,000 for the year. I don't think you made money at each race though.
No,
I
I
think it was
remember
just
it
the
was,
series. Or
but
was it
okay,
that
maybe
before?
I think when you stopped, they introduced the 300, and that went away with
Oh,
COVID because I remember. So I Rose City, I got $300 there, but and then Wasaga, because the one weekend it was like my last weekend where it was in August, so I used to always spend 4 months in Guelph, and I would work through the year when I was going to school so I could save enough, spend 4 months training and racing in Guelph, and this was the second last weekend or something before I went home. I had almost no money. And so what I did was we raced Wasaga on the Saturday. I won that race, got $300, drove like 6 hours to Cornwall, and then won that race and got $500, both of which were like in my bank account by the end of Like it was e-transferred for Cornwall, and I think both. Yeah, I think that they literally handed me a check in Wasaga as I left, and so I made $800, and it just like,
Wait,
oh,
that's
there we go.
$1,100.
No,
Didn't you
500
say
plus
5 and
three.
6?
3.
Oh, 3.
No,
3.
5 and 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was $800 back then. Like,
You were set for life.
yeah,
Make it months.
but like,
Now I'm retired.
yeah, like that's what got me through. And I remember like I had to. So winning with Sega, I didn't register for Cornwall. Luckily, I think he gave me an entry when I got there, but um, I didn't have the gas money to like come home. So there's something like that.
Did you not have a credit card? You just pay it on the credit card, cut the card up, and throw it in the lake, and they can't
Yeah.
trace that back to you.
It was honestly, it was something like that. It was something like I was like, I needed the money. This was a long time ago now. I don't even remember how long ago that was.
2017, probably.
Maybe 2017. Yeah. And then I remember I went to the Escape Series and won $1,500 like 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later.
Oh yeah, Escape Series. You got third at that one race.
Yeah. And that was like, I was like, oh my God, I made back all my money from the summer. Wow. Crazy.
Did you guys do that Escape Des Moines race in 2018, 17?
I think so.
That was
didn't
where
know.
I like earned my pro card.
Oh wow, I was probably there.
I know.
Garrett got third at the Escape Nations or whatever it was.
Oh, in
Yeah, the
DC?
one in DC. Yeah.
And then I went the next year. It was the next year, right? And they
Yeah, it was the
canceled
next
the
year.
race because
And
there was
it
too
flooded.
much rain.
Yeah.
Me and Dylan Puss went, and
Yeah. Hey,
but
that was a cool year. That was a great race. I actually led out of the water in that race, and then I got off the bike with Jason West. We got off the bike together.
then you had a
Uh,
run battle.
Yeah, he ran into first, and that like yeah, we had a run battle. No, but it was me, Jason, and what was his name? It was like Wistoff, I think was his
Yeah,
last name.
that guy
Yeah,
was pretty good.
he was good, yeah. And then Brian Duffy Jr., who was probably the most talented triathlete ever. This man had worked in like some sort of finance, and he would he would commute to New York and live in New York for 5 days during the week so he could only swim and run, and then he would bike on the weekends. And he just like crushed these series. But anyway, so he was up the road. Jason caught him. I didn't catch him, and then yeah, I had a run battle with Wistoff and came third. That was such a great race.
Those are the
Nice.
good days. The Escape series would love to see that come back.
That was awesome.
I know.
It's just so tough, like for the races to. I think races used to get like they used to have a better time getting a sponsor to just sponsor a prize purse sometimes.
Yeah.
And now it seems harder to do that. Like I think the sponsors used to get more out of that, like before social media, when it was like, oh, a pro race sponsored by this, and then they get something in the newspaper, and like it was kind of a big thing. But now nobody cares about that as much as what they're just going to see on social media, anyways.
Yeah. Like
so-
like VinFast, the VinFast Ironman series.
Yeah.
Sorry, I need to turn this.
Yeah.
My
But the also just like the cost for putting on races have skyrocketed as well. Just to pull permits
Yeah.
now is crazy. I remember when James used to run his races, there was no like actual permitting. Like there was permitting, but he would never need to pull a permit because he would just call the OPP and be like, "Oh, we're putting this." That's the Ontario Police. He was like, "Oh, we're putting on this race for charity," and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, we'll get some cops," and the cops would come and volunteer and close the roads off.
That's
But
amazing.
he wasn't pulling any permits or anything, or like close a lane off because he wasn't closing the whole road or anything. Yeah, and now like it's hard to turn a profit if you're pulling all those permits and road closures and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. It'll
the
be
good old
interesting.
days. I feel
The
like
good
everyone
old
when they
days.
get into their 30s like us here are just like, remember back when we were youngins and things were just so much easier.
Garrick is in it. You're not 30 yet.
In like a
not
day.
yet. 4 months. 4 months, buddy.
4 months.
months.
Woo! When
This
we
is
go to
good thing that we brought
Cozumel.
in. So we brought in Colin Shook, the young fella, because the rest of us are getting a little, what's good?
I mean-
a little long in the tooth. But Colin's like, what is he, 19 or something?
I think he's 19. I just how
I
can
think he's
that
like
kid
21.
Yeah.
maybe 23.
Races 3 times a month.
That's insane.
No, he's
It's
not
wild.
23. I think he's 21. Let's ask him right now.
Kate is pretty young too. I want to say she's like 25 or 26. 26?
Nice.
Couple of
Is
spring
that-
chickens.
Couple of spring chickens.
Spring chickens keeping us on our feet. But guys, I can't wait to get to Cozumel because I'm going a little crazy having to like put layers on when I ride my bike or like ride the trainer. And I can't
Just
wait
bike
to just
inside.
I did, that's what I said. Or ride the
Yeah.
trainer. I rode the trainer like
Okay.
3 or 4 times last week. It's awful. But to get to training camp, I think there's how many of us? Like 22 total? 21? 22
That
total
sounds
people?
right.
Yeah. So it's gonna be super.
I'm gonna be, yeah. When are you coming? The 17th to 24th, like the regular?
No, I come the 15th to the 24th.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Oh.
a couple days early.
Cool.
Have
You're
like
gonna be there before us.
Yeah, you guys get there the 17th or 16th?
16th.
16th to 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so
10
you're leaving
days.
tomorrow? Wait.
No, I leave on Wednesday.
Oh,
Really,
Wednesday,
like ass crack of dawn.
right.
5 a.m. flight.
Nice. All right.
So
So,
you're like,
well, we're headed to training camp. So when you guys do a training camp, when you're headed to train, what are you looking for? So as a professional athlete, maybe as a coach to other athletes as well, what do you want to take away from training camp? What is a good, successful training camp to you? Um, maybe it changes throughout the year at different times, but January, we're just getting back into it. We've only been training for 2 weeks now, right, guys? It's only been 2 weeks, right?
I've
yeah,
only been.
basically.
Jackson, you've been training for like months.
Yeah, I finished my season a little early, but well, January, still nothing crazy, but definitely a little increase in mileage. But the main thing is you want to go somewhere nice weather, nice, get your vitamin D, get your good vibes, have fun, and don't get sick. And then I think the nice part about being pretty far out from a race is you don't have to have like the most specific, strict, exact workouts ever. Like, I've got an Ironman in 12 weeks or something. It's 11 weeks. So I don't really need to be doing exact Ironman specific training right now. So I can just, as long as I'm getting good mileage in and utilizing the group factor to kind of make it more fun and like learn some things from friends and try to drop Greg Harper in the swim. Which is funny to say that because he could probably swim about the same speed as me single arm. But yeah, mostly just like getting the volume up a little bit, but don't do anything crazy and don't get sick. That's the ideal for me.
Yeah, I think especially a January camp, the focus is just more on like volume and aerobic base. At least for me, that and like having fun and enjoying. I think a lot of us learned last year that it was a really long season. And if you just are hammering it in freaking January, you're probably not going to have the results you want at the end of the year, or you're going to get sick, or you're going to have like a really shitty start to your year. And I think we saw that develop a little bit with some of the athletes. I don't know, but it's a really long year. January is a great time for a training camp, especially one with the Real Tri Squad in Cozumel, Mexico, because it's the most laid back training camp you'll probably ever go to. If you don't want to participate in something,
Yeah.
you don't have
I mean,
to.
none of the athletes that went to our camp burnt out throughout the year. They all had great worlds, or they were effective early in the season and at
Yeah.
the end of the season. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it is super laid back, this camp in particular. But I would say when I look to camp, it's like, okay, are you going hard enough the first day to where you're super tired? And then when you come back, do you come back injured? Because if you didn't, like, did you really train hard?
Yeah, whoever can amass the most mileage in camp is going to do the best at triathlon for the entire year.
Yeah, that's it.
I I will say that so I'm going to Arizona for 2 weeks in February. First week I'm gonna do in Scottsdale. I'm hoping to do the Valley of the Sun time trial, which is like a stage race for cycling. There's like a road race and a crit race, which I won't
Ooh.
participate in. but I'm trying to like make my way to get into US Pro Nationals time trial, like what Taylor Knibb did
Ooh.
last year. So really want to race that. But I don't have any like on-road results. But that camp is gonna be a little bit more focused and a little bit more like listening to what my coach actually says. Where in camp I'm just gonna like do what everyone else is doing, basically. And try
Well, me, Nick, and Garrick all have the same coach, so you should probably just do what
so
we
we're
do.
gonna do what you
Yeah.
guys do. I think that's what happened last year. I was like, "What's your workout? Perfect. I'll do that."
Yeah.
This year, like last year was a proof of concept. This year it's a more structured schedule. So we kind of know what we're doing. But yeah, it's really just like this is the way I look at it is this is like a springboard to set my training up for the rest of the way, right? Get some
Although
base
today you
miles.
did some crazy good power on the bike, so I think you're already ready for the season.
I did one really hard climb and that was about it. It's like I'm in you're in that stage of fitness where you're like you can go to the well like once, but
Yeah.
like it's there. Like it's
Yeah.
there, but you can do it once and that's
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. This is a little bit more of a training question, but how many like specific workouts do you think that you have to like nail to feel like you're ready to race? Do you have something like that that you're like, "Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
just nailed
I
these
have
like
so for me, I mean, Jack's not much of an athlete, so I'll answer this. But for me, when I look at my week, I always say, okay, I want to hit 5 swims, 5 bikes, 5 runs. And I want to hit at least 3 solid swims, and 2 like solid bikes, which includes like a midweek shorter ride that's maybe 2.5 to 3 hours, and then a long ride in the season that like is probably 4 to 5 hours, 5.5, and then running. It's 5 runs, one hard run workout in the middle of the week, and then one long run with some longer efforts. And then when I'm like in a training block, so like this part of the season, like we're ramping up, right? But once
Mhm.
we hit probably February, mid-February, and I'm trying to get ready for a race mid-season, then I have minimums that I want to hit volume wise. So swimming, that's like I always want to hit 20K of swimming at least in the week. And then I want to hit at least my bike minimum's 13 hours. So I want to hit at least 13 hours of biking in the
Oof.
week. And then running, it's usually more of like less time based, more of like distance based, and it's 75K
Yeah.
is what I aim for. And then I don't hit it every week, but if I can hit those minimums, actually I do pretty much hit it every week. And I just operate my sessions around that. Like I add the 2 or 3 not hard sessions are based on volume to hit those volumes.
And then do you think that if you like you've done that for like 5 weeks, kind of like that same volume for like 5 weeks in a row, are you like, yeah, I like this is I feel ready.
Uh Yeah, I think I try to just hit as many of those weeks as I can throughout the year. And one thing I learned last year was like to improve my run, at least my durability on the run and recover from racing was like weekend long run, minimum 2 hours.
I think that's what I need
Yeah.
because it takes me like 4 weeks to recover from a half Ironman and for all
But
my strained muscles to heal.
yeah, Jack, you might have a different idea.
Pretty similar. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's not too hard to get the volumes up just because that's all I do. That's all I do is train. So, um, I those volumes actually aren't really far off what I do. I probably do hit a few 13-hour weeks, but I think of it more as like I don't think I actually need a crazy amount of bike volume. Like I'm pretty confident on like 11 hours, honestly. Like I think I could probably ride well on an Ironman with like 11 hours for the last 4 or 5 weeks of the build. A little bit more on the run and swim, probably like more in the 85, 90 range for run kilometers, and swimming closer to like 25, but that's more just that I have more time. But for me, my confidence more comes from like what is the fitness level um like if I'm doing lots of volume but I'm only like I can barely get down to like 5 minutes for my 400s and it's like an all out effort, then I know I'm not swimming that efficiently. So that's something I keep an eye on, is like mostly the 400s is the best gauge because you can't really fake 400s. Like for hundreds, you could just hammer sometimes. And if you have decent high end, you can get away with it. But I look more, yeah. And then like the bike, the numbers, yeah, you want to be able to I want to be able to like reasonably assume that my threshold's like getting close to 370. And if I know that based off my interval workouts, and I know I've been doing the volume, I know I'm going to be able to do the Ironman or half at a good power. As long as I've done some specific workouts there too. Because like Ironman specific workouts, the power's not that high. Like you're always going to be able to manage it. So it's not, for me, it's not like that big of an indicator of how well I'll ride. Although I've ridden well in every Ironman, so like I haven't been too worried about that. The run for me is the one I'm still like really questioning on, like how do I know if I'm going to run well in a race? And I think it's more to do with how hard do I have to bike in the race? Because like all I got to do, if I run 350 per K, like that's awesome. That's like a low 240 run, um, which feels ridiculously easy in training. Um, so again, as long as I get quite a bit of time at that Ironman pace and lots of mileage, like Garrick, I like to get my long run over 2 hours for sure in the
And you
Ironman build.
maintain it? Do you maintain it at 2 hours for like
Not
a
all
while?
year, but like the last like probably 4 or 5 weeks, it'll go to like 2 hours, maybe 220
Yeah.
towards the longest. And then, but I haven't really gotten to a run, and like the best run I had was like Placid. It was like 254, I want to say, on like a really hard course, and executed that pretty well. But it was just like I still feel like I've used too much on the bike in some of these races because of not having the swim that I need. So I'm really kind of focused on that. But yeah, I think for me the confidence more comes from like the quality sessions,
Yeah.
because I know I've got the mileage and like how's the quality. And if I'm like the paces are just off, then if they're off even on the best days, and the other thing is you can kind of judge it. For me, I like to judge it based off your best day, because you're going to be tired some days, and like you can't just, fitness isn't just like something that is not, like you can't just fake it when you're training all the time. Like if I go do a workout, like I said, the 400s, and I have a great set of 400s, and then later that week I have a terrible set of something, I'm gonna attribute that more to fatigue. Because if I could do it the other day and it felt good, then you're gonna, if you taper properly and get your nutrition right, and you're not sick, and you get to the race day ready, you're gonna have that good day energy, if not better. So you don't want to get too discouraged on your off days, because yeah, you're training, you're fatigued, and like it's just another check the box and move on, and like you're gonna feel a lot stronger on race day.
Yeah. It is interesting though, just to hear you a little bit the different kind of not philosophies, but different feels for like when you feel race ready. I
Yeah.
think that's something I've really struggled with too, is like when do I actually feel race ready? And I think part of it is just my lack of consistency throughout the year, especially with running, where I just haven't ever had 12 months of like continuous running, not without a setback in it.
Hmm.
And I think if I were to get to a point where I can like week in, week out, be around about like 20 hours a week and be running maybe around like 30 miles, doesn't have to be that much, but just like consistently, that I
Yeah.
think
I
would feel
found
good.
for my running in particular, I found first of all to be effective off the bike, like for years I was like my run was incrementally improving and it was just never showing in a race for the
Yeah.
longest time until I started training for Ironman and I started biking 13, 15, go to training camp like 20 hours a week and like really solidified the biking in my legs where like now when I'm fit or at least this season like I would do an Ironman and I would start running and it was almost like I didn't bike.
Yeah.
And I noticed that for 70.3 and that reinforced it when I raced Barrowman and I lost all my nutrition on the bike and I got off the bike and I was like, oh man, I'm shot. And I was like, so like, that it is the bike that plays a big role. Um, yeah.
And you're a super strong biker, so you've got that. that part dialed in, but
Yeah,
it's
but-
tough
oh.
with injuries and stuff because Garrick, you've had
Yeah.
injuries too. Like
Yeah, so
I've
that-
never really had much.
That's kind of what I was gonna follow up with here was I found that there's this zone in running in terms of both frequency and volume that I call like the danger zone, and that's
Yeah.
where I get injured, and it's usually sitting like if it's usually sitting between like 30 and 50K a week. If that is my consistent run volume that I get to, I'll get injured. I for some reason I always seem to get injured. I just
Huh.
don't build up the durability. And if it's
Yeah.
under 5 times a week as well that I'm running, I will get injured because I find that I just don't build up that durability that's
Yeah.
required to train to get the adaptations to go faster as well. And if I'm sitting in that zone, like yeah, I just always get injured. Always. So but you still have to build through it, right? So like I'm in that zone right now.
Yeah.
This is my last week. I ran 60K last week. We're bumping to 70, so I'll be out of that. So I was kind of out of that zone. And now I'm out of the zone and I feel like, okay, I'm probably okay, but there's a chance now, I just got out of it, so I might be injured. But once I hold that 70 to 80K, then I know, okay, we're good. Just keep going.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I love that every athlete's like quite different. I mean, well, we're all a lot like pretty much the same, but like we just have these like specific differences that can make us good or injured.
I don't know what you're talking about. Everyone's the same. All my athletes have the same workout, so.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, but
Guys,
Lisa, where's your training at? You said, you were struggling with running, with injuries, with stuff. Like what got you through last season?
oh, I mean, I wouldn't say I got through last season super well. I got through last season without getting a surgery, which was a first in a couple years.
Great success.
But I had a freak accident where I crashed my bike in a pothole and fractured my sacrum, which I didn't run for about a month. And then I had like a weird knee swell thing that happened about a month before 70.3 Worlds, where I didn't run for about a week. But for me, like I've only trained 2 weeks this season, so and it felt awful. I posted this on Instagram, but you guys wear Garmin watches?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it gives you like a readiness score every morning.
I don't wear it to sleep.
Yeah, I
Oh.
stopped doing that.
It gives me a
Okay.
condition score that I pay no attention to after I start running.
Yeah. I get that too. Like it's
Oh,
like
yeah, the
-2.
Performance
Yeah.
poor.
Yeah.
I love when you get it in a race, it like comes on and it's like -4. You're like, oh shoot.
I've never had it happen in a race. It's not my race mode, but for like 5 days in a row, this is out of 100. It gave me a 1 out of 100 for 5 days in a row. And I was like,
yeah, I saw that on your story.
I literally was like, what am I doing wrong? So I think something with like my HRV or something is like way out of whack. But I did get a 29 out of 100 this morning, so that's 29 times better than where I was yesterday.
Yeah, so you're on the up. So big day today, 8-hour training day.
Yeah. Guys, I drive to PT on average once a week, and it's like 70 minutes round, like there, and 70 minutes back, because this guy's the only guy who can like put me and keep me together. He's like a wizard. But we have to drive on this awful highway, I-25. And today I was in like stop still traffic for like 40 minutes. It was awful. Anyways, sacrifices
probably
we
why.
have to make. Pro triathletes. But guys, T-minus 2 days till Lisa's in Cozumel. 3 days until you guys are in Cozumel. Everyone be watching on the socials, because if you're not there, you're definitely going to have some FOMO of our warm weather, some pina coladas. I honestly, I'm going to make an effort to like sit on the beach more, maybe read, relax. And if you guys want to do a little strength routine, we can get a little group together. We just
Oh yeah, I definitely want to do strength a couple times.
yeah.
We had a
So,
group last year.
Yeah,
that would meet in the gym.
me and you.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I think Tamara was in there once too.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure you
The OG
guys.
squad.
I'm sure
Yeah.
she changed her workout to align with you guys quite a bit.
Yeah. It's funny, I had a goal this year that like I was gonna get to Cozumel camp at a point where like I wasn't still in my like off season fluffiness. So that I could just indulge and eat and maybe, you know, have a couple beers or something. And it just Christmas ruined it.
I do think so. After season, I'm probably like 5 pounds heavier than I was, I don't know, a month ago. And I think that's like important. I don't know where I'm going with this. I just want to
It's
let
good.
you
Yeah,
know.
no, you should
have to
add
be
some weight, especially if you're training at like an elite level.
Yeah.
When you cut back, you should add weight because
Jackson, how much weight did you put on after
I don't
Kona?
know. I don't know. Oh, at the peak, probably like 5 to 7 pounds.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I'm at right now. I'll weigh myself tomorrow morning because I gotta make sure I'm not cheating on Zwift like Nick. Yeah. But anyways, I gotta go to bed. I'm
yeah, me
one of
too.
those guys nowadays.
Oh man.
Yeah, I went to bed last night at 8:45 and woke up this morning at 7. Felt great. It was
That's
like the
amazing.
best sleep.
8:45.
Yeah, 8:45.
Nice.
That's amazing. I'll probably go to bed soon too.
Yeah,
It's
it's
7:15.
7:15.
7:15 for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be good.
All
But
right.
can't wait to see you guys in a couple days.
Yeah.
Au
All right.
revoir.
Until next time. Peace.
Peace.
Ow.
Ow.
Ow.